Hey, Corey, thanks for including me today. We have some frequently asked questions by our community about the upcoming referendum. So would you mind answering a few of those today?
I would not mind at all.
Great.
Yeah.
Why is our district, the Marinette School District, pursuing a referendum?
Good question. First and foremost, we view the referendum big picture as an investment in our community's future, not just for the students that are here, but for the students that come in years to come. Our focus all along through this process has been on building stronger schools and brighter futures for our students. So we feel it's important for all of our students, grades 4K through 12, for our students to learn and our adults to support that learning in a safe, modern learning environment where they can continue to grow and prosper. And that's a top priority through the whole work, and there's a lot that goes into that.
So it's not going to be just 12 hours of work and we're done, right? This is a big deal.
This is a big deal. It's a lot of work, and there's a lot that goes into it, and we're counting on input from the community as we move forward with the process.
So is this like every other project where there's a lot of planning ahead of time, so to help identify the needs, like in the middle school and high school?
Yes.
Is there a timeline that associates with that?
There is. So way back, if you think back to 22-23, that was the first year that we opened up the new primary school and the new intermediate school. So the 22-23 school year went through and was a very successful kickoff at those two buildings. In December of 2023 and into January of 2024, we started having internal conversations about what are we doing at the middle school and high school levels. We brought information to the board, and we requested that we do a facilities condition assessment as well as an educational adequacy assessment. So those were done in the spring and the summer of 2024. It took some time to get that data back. Those were done by independent companies that have done work for us in the past, and they came and brought that information to the board in the fall. There was a board workshop that was well attended. Several questions were asked. Our entire administrative team was there. Our entire board was there, which was good. So then we decided to go from there to go to School Perceptions, which is a company that, again, did an independent survey of our community. So we surveyed the community to see what their needs were and what their wishes were if they would support a $48 million referendum. And when we got that data back, the board gave its blessing in December of 2024 to say, move forward with the referendum. Let's let our taxpayers and let's let our community decide on how we move forward with this. So since that date in December of 2024, we've been doing our best to educate the community, which leads up through the timeline, and now we're hoping on April 1st people cast an informed vote through the process.
So there's a lot of data that's been collected and research that's been applied to this process.
Yeah.
So what are the needs at the middle school and high school? What did you find out through those contractors and services?
Great question. So first and foremost, when they went to the middle school and high school, actually did work in all buildings, but when they went to the middle school and high school, they found that there's a need for modern learning spaces and what those modern learning spaces should look like. There's also safety and security needs. And then the third focus area was just the aging infrastructure. Some of the things that you don't see when you walk into a building, but HVAC systems, your boilers, your air handlers, your ventilation, your plumbing that's under the ground. They looked at all of those things, and they really put things into those three big focus areas. So when we talk modern learning environments, those are the areas that prepare our students for the future, and those things include things like technology and integration, modern and safe spaces, especially in our areas of tech ed and our science labs. We're looking for energy efficiency and cost savings as well as we move through the process.
So they're not all going to get equal amounts of funding. It's impossible to do that.
Correct.
So are there areas that are going to get a heavier focus for the funding versus maybe touch-ups?
Yes. So when we talk modern learning spaces, or let's just talk learning spaces in general, right? Every classroom at the middle school and high school will get some level of what they're going to identify as a light remodel. And then there's other areas that are going to get a heavy remodel. And some of those areas that we're really looking at, the science labs at the middle school and high school, the auditorium at the high school, the stage at the middle school, the tech ed area at both the middle school and high school, the music spaces at the middle school and high school. I'm just making sure I hit them all on my list here. When you talk safety and security, some of our cameras are dated at both buildings. So when those reach 15, 20 years old, it's time to get those updated and upgraded. And then the entrance at the middle school is a space that we want to increase the space and the visibility, still have it welcoming, but still have it be a safe entrance into our facilities.
Excellent. I think that having that curb appeal when you first walk into a building, the wow factor. At one of the sessions that we recently held at the auditorium, that was that was part of the awe from one of our principals talking about that,
Yeah.
Mrs. Elliott talking about how her students come in and they're just so happy to be at
Sure,
school.
sure.
It's a great feeling.
Well, and if I'd like to ask you a question, because you're asking me the questions from the frequently asked question perspective, but can you share for our community members and our listeners, I think Miss Elliott also described when we had middle school kids enter
Yeah,
the primary
yeah.
building for reading buddies and how they described what they walked into. So
Yeah.
share that with us.
I believe it was eighth graders that were going down to the primary building to have reading buddies, and they walked in and they were like, "Holy man, look at what they have!" And they go back to a very dark place, and it's not bad. It's just dark, and it's not a
modern.
current trend. Yeah,
Right.
it's definitely not modern.
Yep.
So they go back to maroon colored flooring and old lighting and dark, and I think it's when you hear students talking about the changes and how it impacts them and how they talk to one another, that's a difference maker.
It really
and they
is.
deserve it.
That's really
So
eye-opening.
another twist on that is, so these younger students that have these opportunities in primary and intermediate, so they're used to it. Now they're in fifth grade and they're going, "What?
Yep.
Who pulled the rug on me?" So
Right. This looks like a different space.
We just
Yeah.
went back 25, 30 years. So I think it's important to make sure we provide consistency. And if they're excited about learning, that's our ultimate goal. We want to make sure that our students are continuing to progress along a steeper incline in the future.
Sure.
So that's a big goal, and I think it's great to hear it from the mouths of our students.
Yeah, as they're walking from building to building. Yeah, good.
So there's no doubt that I know our students are going to appreciate new learning spaces. So Corey, can you tell me about modern learning spaces and how that does impact our students and their education and academic achievement?
Sure. So they're feeling it right now at those two elementary buildings. They really are with the fresh lighting and the open concept in some of those classrooms, the movable furniture. So how do you do that? I think it's very safe to say that instructional practices, as well as the ways people learn, have evolved over the years from when you and I learned when we were in high school to the way that they learn now. And that's been influenced by technology. You think of the rotary phone in comparison to the smartphone today. It's been influenced by educational research. It says we learn differently these days, that some kids like the small group, some students like the large group, some want to work independently and individually. And then there's also just needs that we need from a career standpoint as we prepare students as they go through. So, when you think of modern learning spaces, there's been a shift from that teacher-centered focus to really a student-centered focus on learning, more emphasis on that student engagement and active learning. There's a focus on integration of technology like never before, whether it's smart boards, tablets, Chromebooks, or learning management systems. Differentiating, personalizing the learning. And finally, there's more focus on critical thinking and essential skills that our students should learn as they work their way through our system. What is the why behind their learning and how we're making it relevant? You can do that in a modern space that is geared and equipped to allow students to learn in a much more collaborative and innovative way. So modern learning spaces are essential for preparing students for the future, fostering some of that creativity, collaboration, and innovation as they move forward into their careers.
I think it's extremely important to think about those learning spaces. You referenced when we were younger, 5 rows of 5, 30 kids, 25 kids,
Sure.
20 kids in a room, just all in rows. That's not the work environment. That's not what I come to every day as a school official. I work with people. We collaborate all the time. So
Sure.
our students need to practice that so that they're good at it, whether they go to tech school, to college, or to the career. They have to be able to do that, and we have to provide it.
You were spot on. I mean, we've been here long enough, and you remember the days this boardroom used to have a large table that served the Board of Education. Now we've got a bunch of 6-foot tables on wheels with chairs on wheels where we work small groups as adults. Why do we have students sitting in those rows and desks that are difficult to move around? So yeah, that's just one easy piece to it,
Yeah.
right, is the furniture piece of it, but the technology and the accessibility for every student to have an opportunity to learn and grow. That's what we're trying to get for our middle school and high school kids. Our elementary kids have it right now, so we want them as they progress through the district to get that as they continue to move through our buildings.
After a successful referendum, what's next? What do we have to look forward to?
Yeah, so there's what we're going to call a phased construction approach to this process. There's definitely going to be more conversation with our community as well as with our consultants, and there will be input as we move into that design and development phase. Construction is expected to begin next summer, in the summer of 2026. But a point I want to make sure the community is aware of as a phased construction approach. What that means is it would be implemented to complete the high school and middle school projects in a timely manner. Summer breaks are essential for school remodel projects. However, a lot of work can safely progress during the school year with proper phasing and planning and separating students between the construction activities when they're taking place. So working during the school year for these construction groups helps reduce the overall project schedule and cost. The district will ensure that students' learning remains uninterrupted and safe throughout this construction process, and that will be reviewed regularly as we move through the next phase of it, if the referendum is to be successful.
Well, that's excellent. I think the next question, though, is probably one that everybody is waiting for. What's going to be the impact on our local community, especially the mill rate? You know, we have a wide variety of people. I have parents in their 70s. Everybody wants to know, how is this going to impact them?
Sure. What's it going to cost?
Yeah.
How is it going to hit my billfold,
Yeah.
right? And we've done a phenomenal job in Marinette School District of keeping that mill rate low. The tax levy, the impact that this $48 million investment in public education and investment in our community would have on our local taxpayers is a 30 cents per $1,000 of property value. So that's hard for people to figure out, because if you're not living in this world where you're dealing with those numbers on a daily basis, you want to know more about that. So the way we've been defining it and describing it to the community, if you own a $100,000 piece of property, it's an additional $30 investment per year. If you own a $200,000 piece of property, it's $60 per year. And if you own a $300,000 piece of property, it's a $90 investment per year. I think the average property value in the county of Marinette is around $150,000, so it's about $45 a year. And again, we're looking at that as an investment that can have a very positive impact on it at a time when it's a good time to be borrowing money, and we're especially proud of the fact that we've done a very good job of keeping that levy and that mill rate as low as possible.
Well, that seems pretty self-explanatory. I appreciate the breakdown, because mill rates and school finance can be pretty complex.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
do you think it's okay for people to come in and ask questions?
We would love that.
Finance, especially, because I think that's really tricky.
It is. It certainly is. And I think sometimes, and we've got, I'm going to encourage people to visit our website, because there are visuals out there. Each of our buildings has flyers that people can come in and grab. I'm a visual learner, so it helps me to see those graphs. But we are open at any building to have folks come in and sit down. Let's talk finances. Let's take a tour. I mean, we'll give guided tours at our middle school and high school. Our administrators have been very open to that at one of our community sessions. It was supposed to end at 7:30. I think people were still there at 8 o'clock with one of our high school administrators on a tour. So we're open to just letting people see what our current spaces look like and answer any questions they might have to clarify the facts or the questions they need.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So you referenced our website, and that is continually updated. Our Facebook page is continually updated. How can people find out more outside of those areas, or is that something they just want to leave there?
Certainly want them to visit the website. There's a lot out there in the world of social media, so we want them to make sure they're checking to get the facts straight. We've sent out some flyers and some mailings that if they have questions, they can reach out. And again, these types of informal conversations where we certainly have some notes to go through, give us a phone call. Let's sit down, set up a time. Like I said, you want a tour? Let's do a tour. I've received phone calls that were 5 minutes in length and some that were 25 minutes in length, where people just had a question about what the plan is. So how do you find out more? You just continue to reach out with questions and comments, and we're here to answer. So it's really that simple.
Thanks, Mr. Lambie, for sharing with us about the information, how we can find out more information on websites, coming to visit schools, music events, athletic events, whatever it takes.
Right.
We want you to feel comfortable with our school district, right?
Yep.
So before we wrap up, do you have any final words for us?
Thank you. I want to thank our community. They have shown their dedication and commitment to Marinette School District, to our students, to our staff, and to our community. So thank you to our community for supporting one another. We have outstanding, modern, safe learning spaces for our students in grades 4K through 4 right now. Our students in grades 5 through 12 deserve that same safe and modern learning space. So, I think it's great that we've got such a supportive community, and I hope that support continues as we move forward, because Marinette students deserve everything every other student in the state of Wisconsin has a right to, and that's that modern and safe learning space. And we feel we've identified needs, we've created a solution, and now collectively let's have that positive impact on our community as we move forward and continue to grow.
Well, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. You did a great job.